how do you know when you're burning out or when you're pretending to be happy but you're really not? Well, I mean, there's all kinds of ways to do that, right? Like one that I just shared. Like if you're just not getting anywhere, if you feel like you're putting in the 24/7 grind, if you feel like you're handing out advice here, you're handing out advice there, and everybody's telling you how great you are, but you feel like you're just not getting anywhere, that's a sign. That's a warning that it might be toxic, that your positivity might be false at that point, and you need to look at that because if everything's great, you should be moving. But if you're not, then maybe that happy attitude, maybe that big smile is not really what it appears to be.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Everything's Okay, a mental health podcast brought to you by Crazy Ant Media. Today's episode is all about toxic positivity and how constant optimism, the pressure just to stay positive, and the hustle culture that can actually harm your mental health. Maybe you've been told to just stay positive while struggling at work. Maybe you smiled through stress just because it's what the world expects you to do. Or maybe you're just exhausted from the constant pressure to grind without any rest. Wherever you are not alone. And as always, I am joined by my co-host and father-in-law, Dustin. And boy, oh boy, when you pitch this episode, I'm like, us, right here. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's literally us.
I'll
That's so
tell you.
funny.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Listen, I mean, obviously the reason that we wanted to do this episode, or the reason that it really like hit me, is the industry that we're in. We see this every single day, right? And not just us, but the people that we know, it because in the entertainment industry, the music industry, things, it is kind of like drilled into you that if you're not hustling 24/7, somebody else is. If you're not grinding, somebody's going to get your spot. And you've got to put on this facade that you're like great all the time, like perfect, and it is dangerous. I mean, if you guys have been following us for a while, both of our podcasts or just individually or whatever, you see that we take breaks. We go off grid sometimes because we learn the hard way about the burnout and the culture of putting that smile on when everything really wasn't okay. So yeah, I felt like it was important to really discuss this because I think that toxic positivity is a real thing, and not just in our industry, but in any workplace and in life. I feel like society has gotten to the point where like you're almost ridiculed if you admit that you're tired, that you're worn out, that you're not okay, you're just having a bad day, right? How many times do people say get over it? Oh, it's not that bad. Well, maybe it is that bad for me, right? So, yeah, this is going to be a really good discussion, and I'm hoping that we can help a lot of people out there who are going through this because it's definitely something I feel like everybody has had at least at one point in their life.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's very coincided with like having a mask. We've talked
Oh,
about
yeah.
that before. Definitely being able to put on a persona, put on a personality, put on a mask, figuratively, to able to hide your true feelings and your true thought processes when you're having a conversation with anyone else. Because I'm sure, as you are, Dustin, we are people who like to be the gravity, the stable point to where people gravitate towards us
Yeah.
to, talk about their problems, to lean into us, to ask for advice, to ask for help. And we love giving pieces of advice. We love lending the helping hand to try to help. But then on the flip side of that, reverse it, change it all around. When somebody asks us about us, our answers are very minimal. We don't like
Yeah.
to dive into it. We try to be like, no, we're fine. We're
Yeah.
rocking and
I'm
rolling. We
good.
have this, we got this going on. We got this going on. But, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. Continue moving forward and dive deeper into your passion, which we love to do, or work, or anything else that, we have going on. But yeah, I definitely feel like toxic positivity is a trait and is a term that, honestly, when you brought up the topic, is I just learned about. I didn't even think about putting those two words together. Toxic positivity, because you feel like they're two opposite sides of the coin
Right.
and they don't coincide together, but actually they do. And it resonated so much when I read those two words when you sent those to me.
Yeah, because you know what happens is that forced optimism, right? Because like you said, you do always want to be, and I'm dealing with this in my own spiritual journey, is trying not to be everything for everybody because you can't. But that constant need to be positive, to be upbeat, to be happy just in case someone else is down, that ends up invalidating your feelings, your real feelings, because then everybody just, they won't ask you how you're doing because they just assume you're fine. Oh no, they're happy. They're always happy. He's always smiling. He's always in such a good mood. I can't tell you how many times I hear that. You're always in such a good mood. No, I'm not. I'm fucking sad as shit today or mad as hell today. It's just like, but I do find myself putting on that mask to allow myself to be positive for other people. And I do feel like that is invalidating my feelings. It's not allowing people to see how I'm really feeling or ask how I'm really feeling. And a great example of this, especially in our industry, and this one hit even people not in our industry because he was so beloved. Robin Williams, right? Robin Williams, the world saw him as just like this happy, endlessly joyful guy. Always had a quick comeback. Always had a smile to make you laugh, right? But really, he was like dealing with severe depression and was going through so much mentally and suffering privately, and nobody knew. And the reason is because that mask, like you said, he had that smile on. He was upbeat. He was happy. He was positive, and trying to, and you know, the great thing that I think of every time I talk about Robin Williams and that mask that he wore. Look what he did for Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve, he was there every day for Christopher Reeve. Took over paying medical bills when Christopher Reeve ran out of money. Was there to put a smile on his face, to have it say, hey, you got this. You're okay. You're going to walk again. You're going to. And the whole time was suffering inside himself, battling depression, going through all this stuff. But while doing that, and that is what we're talking about, that is toxic positivity, where you're ignoring your own struggles to be positive for somebody else, right?
Most definitely. And I shared a graphic over social media over the past weekend. I don't know if anybody saw it on in my Instagram stories where it shows this is what depression looks like.
Right.
And it's a whole bunch of famous, beloved celebrities that are smiling and that they're doing their art. They look very freaking happy and enjoy life. But these are inevitably the people who either overdosed, drank themselves to death, or committed suicide. So these masks, they are real, and I'm sure everybody has a different version of their own in particular mask that they wear every single day. And especially when you are chasing the dream, right? You're trying to hustle, you're trying to get to the finish line, and we glorify hustling. We
We do.
glorify rushing. We glorify, trying to get more content out there, more projects out there than anyone else. You always try to compete with the other people who are in your industry or in your life. And there's a positive side to that, but then there's also a negative side to that because when that happens, grinding so hard, and I do this completely, but I'm getting way better about it. Honestly,
Yeah.
because of this podcast, I've gotten so much better about it. But grinding yourself into the ground to where you're just complete and utterly exhausted. And it makes you very vulnerable to feel very weak when you don't cross that finish line and you feel like people are putting out more stuff to you. It is very crazy because, you go through life and you go through your own process trying to be the best version of you can be. But if you don't meet your own expectations, which are set because you're mirroring other people's lives or other people's career, you let yourself down, which inevitably burns you out, which inevitably leaves you in a dark room thinking about what am I doing here? Why am I doing this?
Right.
So it's important not to get yourself there. And it's important to make sure you continue to do the inner work, have conversations with yourself, check in with yourself, because this past 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, I've started to get up again early, walking the dog, having that hour and a half to myself,
Yeah.
either listening to a book, My Atomic Habits by James Clear, or just, listening to music and clearing my head. It's a great, valuable time to focus on myself, focus on, making sure I balance everything the way I need to, because that's what happens with people. Not a lot of people check in with themselves, which inevitably leaves themselves in the dirt and in the ground because they grinded themselves to that point.
Yeah, and it's funny because how often are you like we're in the hustle, right? We're in the grind and we got to get this done. We got to and there's a creative block, right?
Mm.
You feel like you're hustling and hustling, but you just can't finish that script or the idea won't come to you or this editing is not the way you wanted it, right? And you keep running into these walls. And yet, and this happened to me. This is what kind of like I was burning the candles both ends. I was like, gotta do it, gotta do it, gotta do it, gotta do it, gotta stay on top of it, gotta stay on top of it. And I ran into these problems. And then when I took that break, that forced break, I'm like, okay, I can't, I gotta just step back for a little bit. I gotta just breathe. I gotta like that. I knocked out 5 screenplays. Right, right. So it's important to recognize when you're heading towards that burnout because the more you grind and hustle, sometimes it prevents you from getting where you want to go instead of helping you go where you want to go. Because if you're mentally exhausted and burnt out, you will run into walls. And so you need that step back. You need that. So how do you identify it, right? How do you know when you're burning out or when you're pretending to be happy but you're really not? Well, I mean, there's all kinds of ways to do that, right? Like one that I just shared. Like if you're just not getting anywhere, if you feel like you're putting in the 24/7 grind, if you feel like you're handing out advice here, you're handing out advice there and everybody's telling you how great you are, but you feel like you're just not getting anywhere, that's a sign. That's a warning that it might be toxic, that your positivity might be false at that point. And you need to look at that because if everything's great, you should be moving. But if you're not, then maybe that happy attitude, maybe that big smile is not really what it appears to be, right?
Most definitely. And I mean, you brought up Robin Williams. He's the perfect example of someone who continued to grind and create beautiful family movies and even, dramatically pieces of art in the film industry. And then we inevitably figure out that he's been battling with drug abuse, alcohol
Right.
abuse, his own problems behind the scenes that never let anybody else in to see. So it's very hard to get to that point. For me personally, when I start to realize that I'm getting burnt out, and I'm way better about this, like I said, since starting this podcast, but it's really to the point where like I do the bare minimum and then I find myself just doom scrolling on my phone or
Yeah.
just sitting
Yeah.
there not realizing that, 2 hours have passed and I've just been mindlessly, basically half-assedly doing this one thing. And I'm like, I could have been done with this an hour ago, but I've continued to be just sitting here, not even really focusing, but just going through the motions of getting something done. And when you get to that point, you have to take a step back, and that's when you realize you have to take breaks. And
Yeah.
that's when you step back and even, like I said, go for a walk, 45 minutes, 30 minutes, even 10, 20, catch some fresh air. I think fresh air is a beautiful piece of medicine that not enough people take advantage of because, yes, we have so many groundbreaking technologies in our household that have been like amazing to this generation and
Yeah.
generations that have come before us to take advantage of it now. But there is something calming, there's something peaceful, there's something beautiful about stepping outside, taking in some nice, beautiful sun rays, vitamin D,
Yeah.
and just taking a walk, smelling the fresh air, hearing the birds, hearing conversations in the neighborhood, observing different things that are just going on in everyday life that aren't necessarily a part of your life. Like, I love people watching. Like, when I get a second to step back and people watch, it really makes me reflect and realize, hey, I am okay. There's a lot of other things happening to a lot of other people, and I don't have their struggles, but they don't have mine. So it's something to see and adapt to and recognize, to put yourself in other people's shoes, to realize, okay, my situation is either not that bad or my situation, could be worse. So it's very important to just step outside and look at your atmosphere, the people around you, so that you are not in the worst position that you could be in.
Right. Well, and I'm glad you brought up social media because social media is the definition of toxic positivity, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're scrolling through, and doom scrolling is a good way to describe it, but when you're scrolling through, how many times do you see positive vibes, feeling good, stay positive, life is great. It's filled with those type of comments and those type of graphics and those type things, and then you start to feel like, oh well, I guess I should be happy, like my life isn't happy this way or that way. It literally is toxic positivity on social media, and we've talked about this in the past, how social media can lead to these mental problems, these mental health problems, or this feeling of inadequacy. And I agree wholeheartedly with what you were saying about, like, get outside, take a walk, do something, and my advice would be, you don't have to post that. You don't have to put up on there that you had a great walk, because that falls into the look how positive my life is thing, right? Into somebody else who might be having a bad day. And then your, oh my gosh, I just had the best thing ever, plays into them putting on the mask because they don't feel like they have a positive enough life, or they're not happy enough at the moment, right? So just because you have something good doesn't mean you always have to post. Of course, where it's nature to want to share when you're in a good mood or something really big happened to you, or like, but these people that every day just relentlessly, it's not real. Everybody's life has problems, right? And social media is nothing but the good. There's no, and so that leads to that toxic positivity. We talk about this all the time too, right? When you see somebody else doing this or doing that, and you start to feel like maybe you're behind or this or that, anxiety, right? Anxiety builds. Uh-oh, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. Uh-oh, such and such is better than me. Uh-oh, he's younger than me and he's doing this. And then also, and I literally just posted about this the other day on my social media feeds, about imposter syndrome. You start to feel guilty, like, are you really where you say you are? Are you really doing what you say you're doing? Or are you just a fake? Are you just an imposter because you haven't achieved this or you haven't achieved that? So you put on that smile and say, look at me, look what I'm doing. And that gets really dangerous, guys, because you feel that pressure. And that's what leads to the exhaustion. That's what leads to the burnout. So it's okay to say I'm not okay today, right? I think we kicked off this podcast with that. It's okay to not be okay and to say that you're not okay. Pretending to be positive when you're really having a bad day, bad thing to do.
Yes, completely agree. So, I mean, of course. So, if positivity can sometimes hurt more than it helps, what's really holding us back from being authentic? I feel like what's holding us back from being authentic is probably other
Always.
people's view and notion about us, because we are still, and I mean, we try to do better about it, but it's still, I feel like there's tiny little inklings of it in everyone's life where we do care about what other people think about us, or what, even if it's, your family members, if it's your friends, or if it's just random ass people walking on the street.
Yep.
We are afraid of judgment. We are afraid of showing people that we are weak, and it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to express your feelings. That's why, I think what really opens up the door for conversation, and I mean, we've talked about the bad social media, but this is a good part of social media. I think what helps me personally open up the door for conversations with other people in my life that I might not have opened up the door to conversations about this particular topics is social media.
Right.
I can go on social media and I don't care. Like, I will, because it's like a video journal. that I will just put
It
out into
is.
the world. Well, hey, guess what? Everybody else out there that I'm friends with who may or may not know how to start a conversation like what I'm talking about on social media, now they have a bridge to be able
Yeah.
to start that conversation because me, one person, was able to talk about it to my phone. So, I mean, that is a good thing too. I don't know, I know a lot of people are probably afraid to do something like that. But you don't have to post it. You can always just record yourself and then go back and watch a video diary, like it doesn't have to be anything that is very highly publicized.
No.
Or like if you want to bridge the gap with someone, do a video diary and then maybe send it to one of your friends and be like, have you ever felt like this? Does this thought process make sense? Be able to bridge the gap for that conversation. And I think, you'll be able to get far when you start believing in yourself to open up the door to just vocally say how uncomfortable you are about something or how you are feeling about something. As long as you vocalize it, that's when I think you are taking away the power of the anxiety, the anguish of holding you back from having that conversation.
Yeah, and I think that this podcast really, I think finally made us comfortable enough to put on social media that we're not having it because we were guilty. We were guilty of always posting the great stuff, the fun stuff, the road trips, the
Always.
location scouting. Look us on set. But I know I've noticed over the past couple of years since we started this podcast, we have put on there, hey, I'm feeling a little lonely today. I'm feeling a little down today. I'm not feeling this way or that way today. And yeah, I like that we've been it because inevitably those get comments. Those like, hey, me too. Are you okay? Right? Where nobody asks you if you're okay if you're wearing that smile. But if you literally are vulnerable enough to post, I'm just not feeling it today. I'm feeling a little sad today. Hey, are you okay? Whoa, wait, somebody asked me if I was okay. So yeah, you're right. I think it all goes about how you it's authenticity, right? That's what I really want to talk about. It's about social media is good and bad depending on how authentic you really are on it. And so is real life. It's all about being authentic to who you really are. So if you guys are out there and you're kind of like identifying with what we're talking about right now, you're kind of going through it, right? You're like, oh, that's me. That's how I feel. That's what I do. Well, how do you reclaim your authentic self? Stop being toxic and fake with positivity, right? How do you do that? Well, the first thing you do, we have to normalize and not criticize vulnerability. Like I just said, be vulnerable enough to express how you really feel. If you can boldly put out there that you had the best day ever, then be vulnerable enough to put out there that you had the worst day ever today, right? That's how you start to claim your authenticity and to be real as to who you are, right? And then obviously, this podcast, us together, you and I, and then the people that we've met through this journey and stuff, peers, mentors, friendships, family, critical in helping you regain that authenticity. You need people around you that will call you out when you're not being authentic. People that know you had a bad day and see you post about how happy you are. Like, no, 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 hold up. I know what happened today. Why you like, you need those people. You need people around you that are going to keep you real, right?
Yeah, most definitely. That's your circle. That's what we
Yeah.
talk about all the time, having that support system to be able to carry you through the dark times and carry you through the good times because they will celebrate your wins and they will sit with you in your losses.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
very important to find that tribe, to find those people so that you can continue moving forward and helping them out in scenarios too, because going through life, all experiences though may be bad, they will be learning experiences. So it will inevitably help you continue to put one foot in front of the other and to build that camaraderie through, different experiences. Like, I don't know how many times I've met like really close friends of mine now who, we can always tell that they went through something.
Right.
Trauma bonding is a real thing, and
Yeah.
that's a positive thing that comes out of bad situations. But that can also be a leader, especially in trauma bonding, that can also be a leader into toxic positivity
Yeah.
because you try to be as positive as possible, even though this person has also been through some sort of trauma, instead of being like, yeah, today's good, but yesterday was bad. You try to continue to be that therapist type figure to other people who you've trauma bonded with, but then like it's important to also remember that they're there for the bad times too, like I was just saying. But I mean, there are some practical strategies to go through your journey to be
Yep.
able to continue to build that confidence, build back that authenticity to continue moving forward. Journaling, feelings, the small wins, the big wins, all of those things. Personally, for me, you're on a spiritual journey. I'm on a religious journey right now. I'm finding time, at least trying to find time every single day to pray. And, most of the time I'm praying about what I'm thankful for. I rarely pray about what I need, what I want. I'm praying about what I'm thankful for and what I've been given throughout my life to continue moving forward and continue being positive about it, because I know whatever's been put in front of me, my maker knows that he wouldn't have put that in front of me if he knew I couldn't overcome it. So it's something like that, to continue moving forward. And then, like I've been talking about, and like we've been talking about, setting boundaries at work or with your social media platforms,
Yep.
because you guys know we're all over social media, so we set boundaries. I've become really good about setting it, scheduling it, and leaving it.
Yeah.
Like I'll go
Yeah.
through it throughout the day and just, have fun with it. But after I schedule it, I don't think about it again after that. That really freaking helps me. And then, of course, like we've also been talking about, mindfulness when it comes to exercising and meditating to stay grounded. My form of meditation, like I said, right now on my religious journey is praying, taking time out and just praying, talking to God a little bit, and to be able to continue moving forward. I know you're very big on meditation.
Yeah, I meditate every single morning, and mine, much like you, when I do meditation, or when I'm speaking to God or speaking to the universe, whether that be in prayer or just in an offering of something that I'm doing, it's the same thing. It's all about gratefulness for what I already have, because the universe is going to give you what you're supposed to have. It's going to put you where you're supposed to go. And gratitude is the driver of that, I feel like, right? And that's, I think that's important to stay authentic and not put this falsehood of toxic positivity up. To be grateful for the things in your life and the people in your life, and stuff that is happening to you. I just think that that's really, really important. Gratitude is everything, man. It's everything. And so, look, we started this thing off talking about in our industry, right? Well, our industry is built on rejection. It is all about, the grind and the hustle, and you got to be at it 24/7, and so we run into this all the time. And we got a couple of emails from some people that are in the industry, and we're not going to give full names because we're just going to kind of keep this boom. But we wanted to share these because there is examples of what people are going through, similar to what we just expressed that we've been going through, and what we probably feel like y'all listening are going through as well. Jamie from Los Angeles, she says, I constantly feel like I have to appear happy and successful even when the work is draining me. But I'm afraid to show stress because it'll make people think I'm weak. How do I deal with that? I think that we're shifting, and it's because of podcasts like ours and other podcasts similar to ours, and just the shift in the universe, if you will. But I think we're finally moving in a direction where it's okay to express that you're not okay, that you need a little break, that you need time off. It's not a sign of weakness anymore. So we need to kind of get past that stigma. So Jamie, that would be like my advice for you is that is a stigma that we are trying to break. In fact, it's just the opposite. Admitting that you're not happy, admitting that the positivity's maybe a little bit fake, that I'd rather frown than smile today, that's a sign of strength, not weakness. It takes a lot of strength and vulnerability to say, I'm having a bad day. I just need a little break. So my advice is let's help break that stigma. Let's spread the word that it is strength, not weakness, when you show your vulnerability and show that you're not always okay, right?
Yeah, most definitely. And it feel like you can have a heart to heart with anyone. If that
Yeah.
makes them uncomfortable, that's not your problem, that's theirs.
And
You know,
not your
they're
people.
yeah, and not your people, especially like, if it's something at work, like you were talking about, Jamie, having a heart to heart with your boss about maybe taking a little step back or taking like a 15-minute break every once in a while,
Right.
something of the pocket of time to where you can regain your structure, regain your momentum, your authenticity, and be able to move forward. But yeah, again, like I said, that heart to heart, if it makes people uncomfortable, not your problem, it's theirs. That's for sure. You're being authentically yourself by showing your emotions and showing your feelings to have that heart to heart. So be
Absolutely.
sure that sensitivity, that is power. That is for sure. We also have another one in from Alex from New York. They say, I love my job, but I can't keep pretending every day is amazing. How do I be honest with my coworkers and not without being judged? Well, the thing is, you got to find good coworkers who you feel like can at least be your work tribe, right? I feel
Right.
like once you go into a job situation, a career situation, you do find people you gravitate towards with either when it comes to asking questions because you feel comfortable with them, or like during meetings, you gravitate with sitting by them because you guys know you can bounce ideas off of each other or things like that. So make sure you have people who you are comfortable with in your little tribe so that you can have those conversations with. And if you haven't, if you know someone who you feel like is approachable, try to approach that person. Try to approach them in a sense, finding some common ground about mental health so that, it is like I was talking about earlier, it's a bridge, it's a stepping point to having deeper conversations. So just finding people you're comfortable with, I think, is the most important thing. And then finding the common ground to open up the door about the mental health struggles or mental health anguishes.
Exactly. And to add to that, it's also okay to not get along with everybody, to
Hmm.
not have everybody at work in your tribe. It's okay to recognize these aren't my people and they're not going to understand me. They expect this from me, and that's not who I am. That's not authentically how I'm feeling. That's okay. You don't have to chat with everybody. You don't have to like everybody. You just have to be you and do what's best for you. And sometimes that means knowing who your people are and who they aren't, and setting, again, going back to setting boundaries. If these aren't your people, you need to set that boundary. The way that you act, the way that you speak to me, the things that you do, I'm not comfortable with. So I'm going to have you not do this around me or not be around me, please. There's a way to be respectful in the workplace, but also set your boundaries, because you do have to look out for yourself. And I mean, that's really important. It really, really is. And we want to hear from anybody else out there who's kind of going through this right now or struggling a little bit, or maybe you've overcome it. Maybe you went through a toxic positivity state, and we want to hear how you overcame it, right? That would be awesome. So if you want to reach out to us, we love it. We always love the comments. We love to hear from people that are going through similar stuff or who've overcome it. You can always email us, just like Jamie and Alex did, at info@crazyantmedia.com, because we want to hear your story. We want our listeners to hear your story, because the more we put our stories out there, the more we can help. So please just feel free. We love it. Info@crazyantmedia.com. That's how you get us.
That's right, man. That's right. And as always, we like to round out the episodes with some tools and resources. We got a couple books for you. We got Raising Strong by Brene Brown about finding the courage to get back up.
Yes.
Option B by Sheryl Sandberg and Adam Grant about building resilience after loss. We have a few apps for you as well. Trello, it's about organizing goals and tasks. We love doing that. Organization is one of our biggest kinks for sure. And we also have Headspace as well, mindfulness and stress relief, of course. And then Dustin
Yes.
put together some journal prompts, right?
Yeah, as you guys know, we're big journalers. We write everything down. It's kind of when we're not doing this podcast, that's our therapy. Like, okay, let's open this up and take a harsh look at ourselves. So here's some questions based on what we've been talking about today that you can use in your journal as a prompt to maybe work through some stuff that you're going through. First one, what's one situation where you have felt forced to be positive?
Mm.
Good one, right? Like, I bet everybody's got that. Another one, how did it affect your mental health when you did that? When you acted positive when you really weren't? How did that affect your mental health? And the last one that you guys can ask yourself, what's one small step that you can take this week to honor your feelings? To set aside that fake positivity and say, this is how I'm feeling this week. What can I do about it? So, what's one small step that you can take to honor those feelings?
Yes, absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. Well, to recap this episode, of course, toxic positivity can harm even when it seems harmless.
Yep.
Hustle culture glorifies constant optimism and can silence authentic emotion. And then recognize fear, shame, and guilt, and don't let them run the show. That is for sure. And then our call for action this week, give yourself permission to express your real emotions and then take one small step forward towards authenticity. So, as always, be sure to tag us on Instagram, follow us on Instagram, X, Threads, all the good places at Everything's OKP, and interact with us a little bit. We'll go
Yes.
back and forth with you. We love cheering you on. You know, we are here to lend a helping hand, always, always. And thank you, everyone, for listening to this podcast. We appreciate all of your love and support.
We
This
do.
podcast is dedicated to anyone who has ever been in an uphill battle with mental health. Sometimes we win and sometimes we lose, but the most important thing is that we are here for you. As always, like I said, be sure to email us at info@crazyantmedia.com if you want to reach out about any topics, have any advice, or just want to put your thoughts in an email. You know, we're here for you, and it doesn't have to have your name. It can be completely anonymous. But as always, everyone, thank you for listening one more time, and everything's okay.